The millionaire's adopted son couldn't sleep until a humiliated cleaning lady did something shocking. 3:47 in the morning. The piercing screams of a 7-year-old boy echo through the marble hallways of the Anderson estate, a sound that has become as routine as the sunrise itself. Thomas Anderson, 42 years old and one of the wealthiest real estate developers in Chicago, stands outside his adopted son's bedroom door with his hands pressed against his temples, fighting back tears of complete exhaustion. 6 months. 6 long months since he brought little Jacob home from the orphanage, and not a single night has passed without this nightmare repeating itself. The boy wakes up screaming between 3 and 4 in the morning, every single night without fail. Thomas opens the door slowly, his heart breaking at the sight before him. Jacob is curled up in the corner of his king-sized bed, trembling like a leaf in a storm, his small body drenched in sweat, eyes wide open, but seeing nothing of this world. Any sudden movement makes everything worse. But Jacob doesn't respond. He never does during these episodes. The child just keeps rocking back and forth, muttering words in a language Thomas doesn't understand. Margaret Wilson, the night nurse Thomas hired 3 months ago, appears in the doorway with a medical bag in hand. She's the 5th specialist he's hired, and like all the others before her, she looks increasingly defeated with each passing night. Thomas feels his throat tighten. He spent over $200,000 on specialists, therapists, pediatric psychiatrists, sleep experts. At 4:15 in the morning, Jacob finally collapses from pure exhaustion, his small body going limp on the bed. Thomas carefully lifts him and tucks him back under the covers, watching the dark circles under the boy's eyes, the unhealthy pallor of his skin. How much longer can a 7-year-old body withstand this torture? Margaret checks Jacob's vital signs and shakes her head slowly. As the first rays of morning sun begin to filter through the curtains, Thomas makes a decision that will change everything. He's going to find someone who can help Jacob, no matter what it takes, no matter how much it costs, no matter how far he has to search. What he doesn't know yet is that the answer isn't in expensive specialists or exclusive clinics. The answer is much closer than he imagines, hiding in the most unexpected place possible. Tuesday morning, 7:30. Rosa Martinez drags herself up the front steps of the Anderson mansion, her cleaning supplies weighing heavy in her tired arms. At 32 years old, she's been working as a housekeeper for 3 weeks now, but the exhaustion etched into her face makes her look at least 10 years older. The previous night she worked a double shift at the diner downtown just to make ends meet, and now she's here, ready for another 12-hour day. Catherine Hughes, the head housekeeper who's been with the Anderson family for 18 years, greets Rosa at the service entrance with a weary smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. When was the last time you had a full night's sleep? The question hangs in the air unanswered because they both know the truth. People like Rosa don't get the luxury of full nights of sleep. They get survival, one exhausting day at a time. As they walk through the service corridors toward the main house, Rosa hears it, a sound that makes her blood run cold and her heart clench with recognition. The desperate, soul-crushing sobs of a child in pain. Not physical pain, but something deeper, something that reaches into the very core of a person's being. That's Jacob, Catherine explains quietly. The poor little thing has night terrors. Every single night, without fail. Has been going on for 6 months now. Rosa stops walking, her hand gripping the door frame for support. 6 months. A child suffering for 6 months with no relief, no solution, no peace. What do the doctors say? Rosa asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Catherine lets out a long, tired sigh. The doctors don't know what to say anymore. Mr. Anderson has spent a fortune, consulted with every specialist in 3 states. Nothing works. It's like the child is trapped in some kind of prison we can't see and can't reach. They continue walking and Catherine lowers her voice even more. Between you and me, I'm worried about Mr. Anderson too. The man barely sleeps anymore. He's losing weight. Yesterday I found him asleep at his desk in the middle of the afternoon, completely exhausted. He's trying so hard to help Jacob, but I think it's breaking him. 10 o'clock in the morning. Rosa is on her knees scrubbing the marble floor of the 3rd guest bedroom when she hears footsteps approaching. She looks up to see Thomas Anderson himself standing in the doorway, and for a moment she's struck by how completely devastated he looks. This isn't the confident businessman she saw in photographs around the house. This is a broken father who's run out of options and out of hope. "You're Rosa, right?" he asks, his voice rough with exhaustion. The new housekeeper Catherine hired? Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson, Rosa responds, quickly standing up and wiping her wet hands on her apron. She feels suddenly self-conscious, aware of how she must look with her old work clothes and her hair pulled back in a messy bun. Thomas waves his hand dismissively. Please, just call me Thomas. I apologize if the noise from Jacob's room has been disturbing your work. We're doing everything we can to help him, but nothing seems to make a difference. Rosa sees the pain in his eyes, the desperate need to explain himself, to justify why he can't fix this problem that's eating him alive from the inside out. It must be incredibly difficult for both of you, Rosa says softly. Thomas lets out a bitter laugh that holds no humor whatsoever. Difficult doesn't even begin to cover it. Do you know what it's like to watch a child you love suffer and be completely powerless to help him? To spend every resource you have, to consult with the best minds in medicine, and still have nothing work? I'd give every dollar I have, every property I own, if someone could just help my son sleep peacefully for one night. Before Rosa can respond, Catherine appears in the hallway. Mr. Anderson, Dr. Phillips is here for Jacob's 11 o'clock session. Thomas straightens up, running his hand through his disheveled hair. Thank you, Catherine. I'll be right there. As he walks away, Rosa notices how his shoulders slump, how each step seems to require tremendous effort. An hour later, Rosa is cleaning the hallway outside Jacob's room when she hears raised voices. Dr. Phillips, a stern-looking woman in her 50s with sharp features and an even sharper tone, is speaking to Thomas in the corridor. Mr. Anderson, I've been treating Jacob for 3 months now, and I have to be frank with you. The child is not responding to conventional therapy methods. Perhaps a residential treatment facility where he can receive round-the-clock specialized care. Rosa watches as Thomas slides down the wall in the hallway, sitting on the floor with his head in his hands. She's never seen a grown man look so completely defeated, so utterly lost. Every instinct tells her to keep cleaning, to mind her own business, to stay invisible like good housekeepers are supposed to do. But something stronger than self-preservation pulls her forward. She sets down her cleaning supplies and walks over to where Thomas sits. Mr. Anderson? Thomas? She says gently, kneeling down beside him. Are you okay? It's a stupid question because obviously he's not okay, but she doesn't know what else to say. Thomas looks up at her, and Rosa is shocked to see tears streaming down his face. I'm destroying him, he whispers. I thought I was saving him when I adopted him from that hellhole of an orphanage in Detroit. Rosa sits down on the floor beside him, not caring about propriety or appropriate boundaries between employer and employee. Right now, she's just one human being, sitting with another who's in pain. The kind of father who cares enough to keep trying, she says quietly. The kind who hasn't given up even when everyone else says he should. But what if everyone else is right? Thomas asks, his voice cracking. Can I tell you something? She asks, and Thomas nods. I grew up in the system too. Foster homes, group homes, temporary placements. You know what the worst part was? Not the abuse, not the neglect, not even the nightmares. It was feeling like nobody wanted to fight for me, like I was too broken, too difficult, too much trouble to be worth keeping. Thomas is staring at her now, really seeing her for the first time. Jacob has nightmares too? Rosa asks, though she already knows the answer. Every single night, Thomas confirms. He wakes up screaming around 3 or 4 in the morning. The doctors say it's severe PTSD from whatever he experienced before the orphanage. His biological parents died in a house fire when he was 4. He was found 3 days later hiding in a closet, alone with their bodies. That night, Rosa finds herself sitting in a chair outside Jacob's bedroom door at 2:30 in the morning. Thomas offered her one of the guest rooms to rest in until Jacob's episode started, and Catherine brought her blankets and pillows, though Rosa couldn't sleep even if she wanted to. Her stomach is twisted in knots, her mind racing with doubts and fears. What if she makes things worse? What if her presence traumatizes the boy even more? At 3:12 in the morning, it begins. The first scream rips through the silence of the mansion like a knife, and Rosa's entire body goes rigid. She's heard children cry before, heard them scream and sob, but this is different. This is the sound of a soul in agony, trapped in a nightmare it cannot escape. Thomas appears in the hallway within seconds, looking like he barely dares to hope. He's starting, Thomas says unnecessarily, his voice shaking. Are you sure you want to do this? You can still change your mind. I won't think any less of you. Rosa stands up, her legs feeling like jelly, but her resolve is solid. I'm sure, she says, though she's anything but. Thomas opens the door slowly, and the sight that greets them makes Rosa want to cry. Jacob is tangled in his sheets, thrashing around like he's fighting off invisible attackers. His small face is contorted in terror, tears streaming down his cheeks, his mouth open in another scream that seems to come from the very depths of his being. Thomas starts to move toward him, but Rosa gently touches his arm. "Let me," she says softly. She approaches the bed slowly, carefully, making no sudden movements. "Jacob, honey, can you hear me?" The boy doesn't respond, lost in whatever horror is playing out behind his closed eyes. Rosa sits down on the edge of the bed, and something in her gut tells her exactly what to do. She starts humming. It's an old lullaby her foster mother from her last placement used to sing, one of the few bright spots in her dark childhood. Jacob's thrashing slows slightly, though the screaming continues. Rosa keeps humming, reaching out slowly to touch his hand. The moment her fingers make contact with his skin, something extraordinary happens. Jacob's eyes fly open, but instead of the blank, unseeing stare Thomas described, there's recognition there, awareness. The screaming stops abruptly, replaced by ragged breathing and quiet sobs. "You're safe," Rosa whispers, continuing to hum between words. "You're safe, sweetheart. Nobody's going to hurt you. I'm here." Jacob's small hand suddenly grips hers with surprising strength, and Rosa can feel him trembling. She keeps humming, gently rubbing circles on the back of his hand with her thumb. From the doorway, Thomas watches in absolute shock as his son, who has never responded to anyone during these episodes, slowly begins to calm down. Jacob's breathing gradually evens out, the tension in his small body starting to release. Rosa lies down next to him on top of the covers, still humming, still holding his hand. "I used to have bad dreams too," she tells him softly. "Really scary ones that made me feel like I couldn't breathe. Do you want to know what helped me?" Jacob doesn't speak, but he nods slightly, his eyes fixed on Rosa's face like she's a lifeline in a stormy sea. "I learned that the dreams couldn't hurt me as long as I remembered that someone cared about me. Someone who understood what it felt like to be scared," Rosa says, her voice gentle and steady. "Your dad, he cares about you so much, Jacob. More than you know. He's been trying so hard to help you feel safe." Jacob's grip on her hand tightens, and then, for the first time since Thomas brought him home 6 months ago, the boy speaks during one of his episodes. "The fire," he whispers, his voice hoarse from screaming. "I see the fire every night, and I can't find them. I can't find my mommy and daddy." Rosa feels tears streaming down her own face now, but she keeps her voice steady. "The fire is gone, sweetheart. It can't hurt you anymore. And your mommy and daddy, they loved you so much." Jacob's eyes are starting to close, exhaustion finally overtaking the terror. "But I couldn't save them," he mumbles, fighting sleep. "I hid in the closet. I was too scared to help them." Rosa's heart shatters into a million pieces. This child has been carrying guilt that no 7-year-old should ever have to bear. "Oh, Jacob, honey, you were just a little boy. You were 3 years old. There was nothing you could have done." The next few days are like a miracle unfolding in slow motion. Rosa starts spending her nights in Jacob's room, sleeping in the comfortable chair Thomas had moved in specifically for her. Sometimes Jacob sleeps through the entire night. Other times he wakes up scared, but now he reaches for Rosa's hand instead of screaming himself into exhaustion. She talks to him about her own nightmares, about the foster homes, about learning to feel safe again. Catherine watches the transformation with tears of joy streaming down her face every morning. "In 18 years working for this family, I've never seen anything like this," she tells Rosa over coffee one morning. "You've given that boy his life back. You've given Mr. Anderson his life back too. Look at him, he's actually smiling again. He's eating properly, he's sleeping. It's like watching someone come back from the dead." Rosa feels uncomfortable with the praise. "I'm just doing what anyone would do," she protests. "No, dear," Catherine says firmly. "You're doing what nobody else could do. Not the doctors with their fancy degrees, not the therapists with their expensive techniques. Just you, with your big heart and your understanding. That's something special." But not everyone is happy about the changes happening in the Anderson household. Margaret Wilson, the night nurse who was let go after Rosa's first successful night with Jacob, has been telling anyone who will listen that Thomas is being reckless and irresponsible. He's letting an untrained housekeeper treat a seriously traumatized child. She complains to her friends at the nursing association meeting. It's dangerous and unprofessional. Something bad is going to happen. Mark my words. That woman has no credentials, no training, no oversight. Her words find sympathetic ears in Dr. Rachel Morrison, a child psychiatrist who runs one of the most prestigious pediatric mental health clinics in Chicago. Dr. Morrison decides to pay Thomas an unexpected visit one afternoon. She's a formidable woman in her early 60s, with steel gray hair pulled back in a severe bun, and the kind of authority that makes people instinctively defer to her judgment. Mr. Anderson, I've heard some concerning things about your son's treatment, or rather the lack of proper treatment. I understand you've dismissed qualified medical professionals in favor of allowing your housekeeper to provide therapeutic intervention for a severely traumatized child. Is this correct? Thomas feels his jaw tighten with defensiveness. My son is doing better than he has in 6 months. That's what's correct. Dr. Morrison pulls out a folder and sets it on Thomas's desk. I've taken the liberty of reviewing Jacob's case file. This child needs serious psychological intervention, Mr. Anderson. That evening, Thomas sits in his study staring at the admission papers for hours. The house is quiet. Upstairs, Jacob is doing his homework with Rosa's help. Their laughter occasionally drifts down the hallway, a sound that was impossible to imagine just 2 weeks ago. But Dr. Morrison's words keep echoing in Thomas's mind. Professional accountability, evidence-based treatments, 92% success rate. Marcus, I need your honest opinion about something, Thomas says when his friend answers. He explains the entire situation, from Jacob's nightmares to Rosa's intervention, to Dr. Morrison's visit and recommendations. Marcus is quiet for a long moment after Thomas finishes. Let me ask you something, Thomas, Marcus finally says. Is your son getting better? Thomas doesn't hesitate. Yes, dramatically better. Marcus continues. Is he happy? Does he feel safe? Thomas, with all due respect to Dr. Morrison's credentials, her 92% success rate, and her fancy residential facility, I've known you for 15 years. I watched you grieve when you couldn't have biological children. I watched you spend 2 years going through the adoption process because you wanted to give a child a better life. Now you finally have that child actually living a better life, and you're considering sending him away because some doctor thinks credentials matter more than results? Thomas hangs up with Marcus, feeling more confused than ever. He walks upstairs and stands outside Jacob's door, listening to the voices inside. Can you teach me that song you always hum? Jacob is asking. The one that makes the scary feelings go away? Rosa's warm laugh fills the room. Of course I can, sweetheart. It's a lullaby my foster mom used to sing. Thomas holds his breath, waiting for Rosa's answer. Jacob, I can't promise that I'll be here forever, because life is complicated and things change, Rosa says gently, and Thomas's heart sinks. But I can promise you this. As long as your dad wants me here, and as long as you need me here, I'm not going anywhere. And even if someday I can't be here every night, the tools I'm teaching you, the ways to feel safe, those will always be yours. Thomas opens the door to Jacob's room, and both Rosa and Jacob look up in surprise. Jacob's face is still wet with tears, but there's a peace in his expression that was never there before. Dad, Jacob exclaims, quickly wiping his eyes. Rosa's teaching me the lullaby. Do you want to hear it? Thomas nods, not trusting his voice to work properly. He sits down on the other side of Jacob's bed, and Rosa begins to hum the melody. When they finish, Thomas pulls Jacob into a tight hug. I love you, buddy, you know that, right? I love you too, Dad. Jacob whispers into Thomas's shoulder. I'm sorry I've been so much trouble. Thomas pulls back to look at his son's face. You are not trouble, Jacob. You are my son, and you are perfect exactly as you are. You've been through terrible things that no child should ever have to experience. Rosa stands up to leave, thinking father and son need privacy. But Thomas stops her. Rosa, please stay. There's something I need to say to both of you. Rosa sits back down, looking nervous. Thomas takes a deep breath. A doctor came to see me today. A very respected child psychiatrist who thinks I'm making a terrible mistake by allowing you to help Jacob instead of sending him to a treatment facility. Rosa's face goes pale, and Jacob grabs her hand in panic. No, I don't want to go away. Please, Dad, don't send me away. I'm not sending you anywhere, Thomas says firmly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I tore up her admission papers because I realized something important. All the credentials and success rates and professional opinions in the world don't mean anything compared to seeing my son smile for the first time in 6 months. Jacob throws his arms around Thomas's neck, sobbing with relief. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thomas looks at Rosa over Jacob's head. And Rosa, I need to thank you too. You came into our lives and gave us hope when I thought we'd run out of options. I don't care what the experts say about credentials and training. You have something they don't. You have understanding and compassion and lived experience. Rosa is crying now too, overwhelmed by the weight of Thomas's words and the responsibility they carry. I'm just doing my best, she manages to say. I know Jacob's journey isn't over. There will still be hard nights and setbacks and challenges, but I believe in him. I believe he's going to be okay. Thomas nods. We all believe that now. That's the difference you've made. The next morning, Thomas makes an official decision that raises eyebrows throughout Chicago's social circles. He hires Rosa as Jacob's full-time live-in companion and caregiver, tripling her salary and setting her up in the guest suite next to Jacob's room. Catherine is thrilled with the arrangement, immediately accepting Rosa as part of the household staff hierarchy. That boy needs you, Catherine tells Rosa warmly. And frankly, so does Mr. Anderson. You've brought light back into this house. But news of the arrangement spreads quickly, and not everyone is as supportive as Catherine. Margaret Wilson and Dr. Morrison join forces, filing a formal complaint with Child Protective Services claiming that Jacob is receiving inadequate care from an unqualified individual. The CPS caseworker, Amanda Patterson, arrives unannounced on a Thursday afternoon. She's a tired-looking woman in her mid-40s who's seen too many bad situations and developed a healthy skepticism about wealthy parents who think rules don't apply to them. Mr. Anderson, I'm here to investigate allegations that your adopted son is not receiving proper care for his documented psychological trauma, she says, pulling out a clipboard. I'll need to interview Jacob, observe his living conditions, and speak with all caregivers. Thomas feels his blood run cold, but he forces himself to stay calm. Of course, we have nothing to hide. Jacob is thriving. Amanda spends 2 hours in the house. She interviews Jacob, who tells her excitedly about how Rosa taught him to manage his nightmares and how he hasn't had a scary episode in 5 days. She talks to Catherine, who raves about the positive changes she's witnessed. She reviews Jacob's recent medical records from his pediatrician, who notes significant improvement in sleep patterns, appetite, and overall demeanor. She even speaks with Jacob's teacher at the private school Thomas enrolled him in, who reports that Jacob has become more engaged in class and has started making friends. Finally, Amanda sits down with Rosa herself. Miss Martinez, the complaint alleges that you're providing psychological therapy without proper licensing or credentials. Is this accurate? Rosa chooses her words carefully. I'm not providing therapy, ma'am. I'm providing companionship and support from someone who's been through similar trauma. I'm not diagnosing anything, not prescribing anything, not claiming to cure anything. I'm just being there for a scared little boy who needs someone who understands what he's going through. Amanda studies Rosa for a long moment. You grew up in foster care? Rosa nods. From age 5 until I aged out at 18. 13 different placements. I know what it feels like to be Jacob, to feel like you're carrying darkness that nobody else can see or understand. Amanda writes something in her notes. And you've received training in trauma-informed care? Rosa shakes her head. No formal training. Just life experience and a big heart, I guess. Amanda closes her notebook and stands up. Mr. Anderson, can I speak with you privately? Thomas follows her to his study, preparing himself for the worst. Amanda sits down and looks at him directly. Mr. Anderson, I've been doing this job for 22 years. I've investigated hundreds of homes and seen every kind of situation you can imagine. Bad situations, terrible situations, and occasionally situations that restore my faith in humanity. This is the latter. Thomas feels relief wash over him like a tidal wave. So you're closing the investigation? Amanda smiles for the first time since arriving. I'm closing it with a recommendation that the arrangement continue exactly as it is. However, I do suggest that Jacob continue seeing a licensed therapist monthly, just to monitor his progress and ensure he's developing appropriately. Not because I think anything is wrong, but because it provides documentation and professional oversight that will protect you from future complaints. Thomas agrees immediately. Whatever Jacob needs, whatever keeps him safe and healthy, I'll do it. Amanda stands to leave, then turns back. Mr. Anderson, the people who filed this complaint, they see credentials and procedures and protocols. but they're missing what really matters. Your son has someone who loves him and understands him. That's the most powerful therapy in the world. After Amanda leaves, Thomas finds Rosa and Jacob in the backyard. Jacob is laughing as he tries to teach Rosa how to throw a football, and she's deliberately messing up to make him laugh harder. Thomas watches them for a moment, his heart so full it feels like it might burst. This is what family looks like. Not perfect, not conventional, but real and loving and healing. "Hey, you two," Thomas calls out. "Who wants to go get ice cream to celebrate?" Jacob runs over, his face flushed with happiness and exercise. In the weeks that follow, Jacob continues to improve in ways that amaze everyone who knows his story. He starts sleeping through most nights without any nightmares. On the rare occasions when bad dreams do wake him up, he uses the techniques Rosa taught him: breathing exercises and positive self-talk and remembering that he's safe. His teacher reports that he's excelling academically and has formed a close friendship with another boy in his class. He starts opening up more to Thomas about his feelings, about his memories of his biological parents. Dr. Lawrence Kim, the therapist Amanda recommended, becomes one of Rosa's biggest supporters after his first few sessions with Jacob. "Mr. Anderson, I have to tell you something," Dr. Kim says during a parent consultation 3 months into treatment. "I've been practicing child psychology for 17 years and I've never seen results quite like this. What Miss Martinez has accomplished with Jacob through simple human connection and shared experience is extraordinary. She's not replacing professional therapy. She's complementing it in ways that frankly make my job much easier." 6 months after Rosa first held Jacob's hand during a nightmare, Thomas throws a small celebration dinner. Just the three of them, Catherine and Dr. Kim. It's not a birthday or holiday, just a celebration of healing and family and second chances. Jacob insists on making a speech, standing up at the dinner table with all the seriousness of a 7-year-old with something important to say. "I want to thank everybody here," he begins, his voice steady and clear, "especially my dad for not giving up on me even when I was really hard to help, and especially Rosa for understanding me when nobody else could. You saved my life." His voice cracks on the last words, and Rosa has to excuse herself to the bathroom to cry. When she returns, Thomas has an announcement of his own. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about what's happened in this house over the past 6 months, about how one person with a big heart and real understanding made more difference than all my money and resources ever could. So I've decided to start a foundation." He pulls out a folder and slides it across the table to Rosa. "The Martinez Anderson Foundation for Trauma-Informed Foster Care. We're going to train foster parents using peer mentors, people like Rosa who've lived through the system and understand it from the inside. We're going to fund programs that connect traumatized children with mentors who've walked similar paths. We're going to prove that lived experience combined with compassion can change lives." Rosa stares at the documents, seeing her name alongside the Anderson name, seeing a mission statement that could help thousands of children like Jacob, like herself. "I can't accept this," Rosa whispers, though tears are streaming down her face. "This is too much." Thomas shakes his head. "It's not enough. You gave me my son back, Rosa. You gave Jacob his life back. This foundation is going to give other children the same chance, and I want you to help run it. Not as an employee, but as a co-founder and director. Your experience, your insight, your heart, that's what will make this work." Jacob jumps out of his chair and hugs Rosa tight. "Please say yes, Rosa. Think of all the other kids like me who need someone like you." Rosa looks around the table at these people who have become her family, at this child who changed her life as much as she changed his. "Yes," she says through her tears. "Yes, I'll do it." The Martinez Anderson Foundation launches 6 months later with significant media attention. Thomas uses his business connections and wealth to secure funding and partnerships with child welfare agencies across 3 states. Rosa becomes the face of the foundation, traveling to speak at conferences, training foster parents and mentoring children who've experienced trauma. She's terrified at first, convinced she'll mess up or say the wrong thing. Jacob thrives in his new normal. He's 8 years old now, excelling in school, playing on a youth soccer team, and sleeping peacefully through most nights. He still has occasional bad dreams, but they're manageable now. Normal childhood fears rather than debilitating trauma. He started seeing a therapist once a month just to check in, and Dr. Kim reports that Jacob is one of the healthiest, most well-adjusted children he's ever treated. The scars from his early trauma will always be there, but they're healing scars now. But success attracts scrutiny, and not everyone is happy about the Foundation's approach. Dr. Morrison, still bitter about being proven wrong, writes a scathing article in a psychology journal, claiming that the Martinez-Anderson Foundation is promoting dangerous anti-professional sentiment and encouraging unqualified individuals to provide mental health care. The article gets picked up by several news outlets and sparks a fierce debate in professional circles. Is lived experience really equivalent to professional training? Are they putting vulnerable children at risk by prioritizing emotional connection over evidence-based treatment? Thomas wants to fight back with lawyers and public relations campaigns, but Rosa stops him. "Let me handle this," she says calmly. She reaches out to Dr. Morrison directly, asking for a face-to-face meeting. Dr. Morrison agrees, probably expecting to intimidate or discredit Rosa in person. They meet at a neutral location, a coffee shop in downtown Chicago. Dr. Morrison arrives with her credentials and her certainty, ready to put this uneducated former foster kid in her place. "Dr. Morrison, I read your article," Rosa begins calmly, "and I understand your concerns. You're worried about children's safety. So am I. That's why we do what we do." Dr. Morrison's expression is skeptical. "Miss Martinez, with all due respect, your approach undermines years of research and professional standards. You cannot simply decide that personal experience trumps medical training." Rosa nods. "You're right. Personal experience alone isn't enough. That's why we work alongside licensed professionals, not instead of them." Jacob sees Dr. Kim monthly. "Every child in our mentorship program has access to licensed therapists. We're not replacing professional care. We're complementing it with something professionals often can't provide: understanding from someone who's been there." Dr. Morrison starts to interrupt, but Rosa continues. "Can I tell you about a girl named Maya? She's 9 years old, been through 6 foster homes, has night terrors and attachment disorder." Rosa pulls out her phone and shows Dr. Morrison photos and progress reports. Within 2 months of working with Jennifer, Maya's nightmares decreased by 70%. Her therapist was able to reduce her medication. She's doing better in school, making friends, actually smiling. Her psychiatrist, Dr. Sarah Feldman, she's one of our biggest supporters now because she saw firsthand how the combination of professional treatment and peer mentorship creates better outcomes than either approach alone. Dr. Morrison studies the documents, her expression slowly shifting from dismissive to thoughtful. "And Jennifer? This mentor? She receives training?" Rosa nods. "Extensive training, trauma-informed care, boundary setting, when to refer to professionals, crisis management. We're not sending people out unprepared." Dr. Morrison is quiet for a long moment, and Rosa can see her professional certainty beginning to crack. "I lost a patient once," Dr. Morrison finally says, her voice softer than before. "A teenage boy who'd been through horrific abuse. I tried everything in my professional arsenal. Every evidence-based treatment, every medication protocol, every therapeutic technique. Nothing worked. He took his own life at 16 years old." Her eyes fill with tears, and suddenly Rosa sees past the credentials and authority to the human being underneath. A human being who's carrying her own trauma, her own failures, her own desperate need to believe that her training and expertise can fix everything. "I'm so sorry," Rosa says sincerely. "That must haunt you." "Every single day," Dr. Morrison admits. "And after reading about your foundation, about Jacob's recovery, I wondered if things might have been different for Daniel if he'd had someone like you in his life. Someone who truly understood instead of just clinically observed." She wipes her eyes, her professional mask slipping completely. "But that thought terrified me because it means all my training, all my years of study and practice, they weren't enough." Rosa reaches across the table and gently touches Dr. Morrison's hand. "Dr. Morrison, your training and expertise, they save lives every day. But sometimes healing requires both the science and the soul. The professional knowledge and the lived experience, it's not either or, it's both and." Dr. Morrison takes a shaky breath. "What would you say if I wanted to volunteer with your foundation? I could provide the professional oversight and training you need to scale your program while learning from the peer mentors about connection and understanding." Rosa feels tears prickling her eyes. "I would say that Daniel's legacy could be helping hundreds of other children through the work you do with us. I would say that you honor his memory by being willing to grow and change." Dr. Morrison nods slowly. "Then consider me your newest volunteer. And Miss Martinez, I owe you an apology. I was so focused on protecting professional standards that I lost sight of what really matters. The children, their healing, their well-being. 2 years after that first terrible night when Rosa held Jacob's hand through his nightmares, the foundation has helped over 500 children across 12 states. The success rate is remarkable. 87% of children in the peer mentorship program show significant improvement in trauma symptoms within 6 months. Medication use has decreased by an average of 40%. School performance improves. Family relationships strengthen. Most importantly, children report feeling understood and less alone for the first time in their lives. Jacob is 10 years old now, thriving in ways that seemed impossible during those dark early months. He's a straight-A student, plays 3 sports, and has a close group of friends who know his story and love him anyway. He still sees Dr. Kim quarterly, more as a check-in than active treatment, and he's passionate about helping other kids who've been through trauma. He speaks at foundation events sometimes, sharing his story with a maturity beyond his years. I used to think I was broken, he tells audiences. Thomas has found his own healing through the foundation work. The successful businessman who once measured his worth by profit margins and property acquisitions now measures it by changed lives and healed hearts. He's scaled back his real estate empire to focus more on the foundation, using his business acumen to ensure sustainable growth and maximum impact. He and Rosa have become true partners in every sense, co-directors who respect each other's strengths and cover each other's weaknesses. Their friendship has deepened into something like family. Rosa never moved out of the Anderson house. Her guest suite became her permanent home, and she's as much a part of the family as anyone connected by blood. She's Jacob's guardian, his mentor, his friend, and the closest thing to a mother he's had since losing his biological mom in that terrible fire. Thomas has made it clear that if anything ever happens to him, Rosa will become Jacob's legal guardian. She's in his will, provided for financially, but more importantly, she's woven into the fabric of their daily lives. The media loves their story, of course. The millionaire and the cleaning lady who created a foundation that's revolutionizing trauma care. But they're careful to protect Jacob's privacy and to keep the focus on the mission rather than their personal lives. Still, the attention has brought opportunities. Rosa has been invited to speak at the White House about foster care reform. Thomas has testified before Congress about the need for trauma-informed care in the child welfare system. But success doesn't mean the challenges disappear. On a Tuesday afternoon 3 years after the foundation launched, Rosa gets a call that brings her entire world crashing down. It's from Child Protective Services in Detroit, the same city where Jacob was born, where his parents died, where his nightmare began. "Miss Martinez, we have a situation that requires your immediate attention," the caseworker says. "We've identified Jacob Anderson's biological aunt. She's come forward claiming she never knew about Jacob's existence until recently, and she's filing for custody." Rosa feels the phone nearly slip from her hand. What? How is this possible? The record said there was no family. The caseworker explains that Jacob's father had a half-sister from his dad's first marriage. She'd been estranged from the family for years living in California, and only recently discovered through a genealogy website that she had a nephew. Her name is Patricia Coleman. She's 45 years old, married with 2 children of her own, and she's devastated that Jacob spent years in the system when she could have taken him. She has legal standing, Miss Martinez. Blood relatives take priority in custody disputes. She's filed a petition to reverse the adoption and bring Jacob to live with her family in California. Rosa's mind is racing. Jacob is happy, healthy, thriving. He has a life here, a family, a home. How can someone just appear out of nowhere and take that all away? Thomas is in New York for a business meeting when Rosa reaches him. She can barely get the words out through her panic. "Thomas, they're trying to take Jacob. His biological aunt, she wants custody. She's challenging the adoption." There's a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Thomas's voice, cold and hard in a way Rosa has never heard before. "Nobody is taking my son. I don't care who she is or what rights she thinks she has. Jacob is mine, and I will fight this with every resource I have." Rosa has never been more grateful for Thomas's wealth and determination. They hire the best family law attorney in Illinois, Margaret Blackwood, a woman with a reputation for winning impossible cases. But even Margaret is cautious about their chances. The law favors biological relatives in custody disputes, especially when they can demonstrate stable homes and genuine desire to parent the child. This Patricia Coleman, she has a clean record, a good marriage, 2 well-adjusted children, and a compelling story about not knowing Jacob existed. A judge might see returning him to blood family as the right thing to do. Thomas is pacing his study like a caged animal, but Jacob doesn't know her. She's a stranger. We're his family. Doesn't that matter? Margaret looks at them with sympathy. It matters, but it might not be enough. We need to prove that removing Jacob from your care would be harmful to his well-being. We need documentation of his trauma history, his recovery, the therapeutic relationship he has with Rosa. Everything that shows disrupting his current placement would be detrimental. That evening, Rosa and Thomas sit down with Jacob in the living room. He immediately senses something is wrong. "What's going on?" he asks, his voice taking on the edge of fear they haven't heard in years. "Am I in trouble?" Thomas pulls him close. "No, buddy, you're not in trouble. But we need to talk to you about something important. Something that might be scary, but we're going to face it together as a family." Jacob's eyes dart between Thomas and Rosa can see the old panic starting to creep back in. "You're sending me away," he whispers. "I knew this was too good to be true. I knew eventually you'd get tired of me." "Jacob, no." Rosa moves to his other side, taking his hand. "We are never getting tired of you. You are our family, and we love you more than anything in this world. But someone has come forward who says she's your aunt, your dad's sister." Jacob's face goes pale. "But I don't know her. I don't want to go to California. This is my home. You're my family." His voice is rising, panic fully taking hold now. "You promised. You promised you'd never leave me." Thomas wraps both arms around Jacob, holding him tight. "And I'm not leaving you. We're going to fight this, Jacob. We have lawyers, and we have evidence that you belong here with us." "What if the lawyers don't work?" Jacob asks, his voice muffled against Thomas's chest. "Then we'll appeal," Thomas says firmly, "and we'll keep fighting until we've exhausted every option. But Jacob, I need you to understand something. This woman, Patricia, she's not a bad person. She genuinely believes she's doing the right thing by trying to bring you into her family. She's not trying to hurt you. She just doesn't understand what we all know, that you're already exactly where you belong." Jacob pulls back and looks at Rosa with tears streaming down his face. "Rosa, you have to tell them. Tell the judge about the nightmares, about how you helped me, about how I was dying inside before you came. Tell them I can't leave you." Rosa is crying too, her heart shattering at seeing Jacob's progress unraveling before her eyes. "I will tell them everything, sweetheart. I promise. We're going to make sure everyone understands how special what we have here is." Jacob suddenly sits up straight, wiping his eyes with determination that reminds Rosa of Thomas. "Then I'm going to tell them too. I'm going to tell the judge that I choose you, that I want to stay here. They have to listen to me, right? I'm not a baby anymore." Margaret Blackwood warned them that Jacob's testimony could be crucial but also risky. Putting a 10-year-old on the stand means exposing him to cross-examination, to questions that might upset him, to the possibility of saying something that could hurt their case. But looking at Jacob's determined face, Rosa knows they don't have a choice. The day of the custody hearing arrives too quickly. Jacob wears his best suit, looking far too grown up and far too scared. Thomas has barely slept in days, and Rosa has lost 10 pounds from stress. They arrive at the courthouse to find media cameras outside. Somehow the story has leaked. "Millionaire fights biological family for adopted son," reads one headline. Margaret shields them from reporters as they enter the building, but the attention only adds to everyone's anxiety. Patricia's lawyer goes first, presenting a compelling case for why Jacob belongs with blood relatives. They show photos of Patricia's stable home, her children excited to meet their cousin, character witnesses testifying to her parenting abilities. They present genealogy documents proving the biological connection, and argue that every child has the right to know their heritage and be raised by family who share their blood. The lawyer is careful to never attack Thomas or Rosa directly, instead framing the issue as what's naturally best for any child. Then it's Margaret's turn, and she's absolutely fierce. She presents 3 years of documented evidence of Jacob's transformation, the therapy notes showing his progress from severe trauma to stable mental health, school records showing his academic excellence, Dr. Kim's testimony about the crucial role Rosa played in his healing, video testimony from other foundation children and their parents about how the Martinez-Anderson approach saved their lives. "Your Honor, this case isn't about biology versus love," Margaret argues passionately. "It's about what serves this specific child's best interests. And the evidence overwhelmingly shows that Jacob Anderson is thriving exactly where he is. Then comes the moment everyone has been dreading and anticipating. Jacob takes the stand. He looks so small in the witness chair, but when he starts speaking, his voice is strong and clear. "I know Patricia is my aunt," he begins. "I know she's related to my dad who died, but she's a stranger. I don't know her. I don't know her kids. I don't know California." His eyes find Rosa in the courtroom. "When I first came to live with my dad, Thomas, I was so scared all the time. I had nightmares every night. Bad nightmares about the fire and about being alone and about nobody wanting me. The doctors gave me medicine, but it didn't help. Then Rosa came," Jacob continues, tears streaming down his face now. "She understood me because she'd been scared like me when she was little. She taught me that it's okay to be scared, but I don't have to stay scared forever. She stayed with me through the nightmares. She never got tired of me or frustrated with me. She just loved me until I could learn to feel safe again." Patricia is crying in her seat, her husband holding her hand. "I love Rosa like she's my mom," Jacob says, his voice breaking. "And I love my dad Thomas like he's my real dad. Because they are real. They're my real family. And if you make me leave them, I'll be that scared kid again. Please don't make me go." The courtroom is silent, except for the sound of people crying. Even Patricia's lawyer looks moved. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Martinez, calls a recess. Everyone files out to the hallway to wait for her decision. Thomas pulls Jacob into a tight hug. "You were so brave in there, buddy. So brave. No matter what happens, I'm so proud of you." Rosa can barely breathe. Everything they've built, everything they've become as a family, it all hangs in the balance of what one judge decides in the next hour. Patricia approaches them in the hallway, and Thomas instinctively moves to shield Jacob. But Patricia just wants to talk. "I need to say something," Patricia begins, her voice thick with emotion. "I came here believing I was doing the right thing, believing that blood and family and heritage were what mattered most. But watching Jacob on that stand, seeing how much he loves you, seeing how much you clearly love him, I realized something. My brother would have wanted Jacob to be happy and loved and safe. That's all any parent wants for their child. And he is all those things with you." Thomas stares at Patricia in shock. "Are you saying you're dropping the custody petition?" Patricia nods, tears streaming down her face. "I'm saying that being family isn't just about DNA. It's about love and commitment and showing up day after day. You've been Jacob's real family for 3 years. I've been a stranger who shares some genes. That doesn't make me his mother or give me the right to uproot his entire life." She looks at Jacob, who's watching her with cautious hope. "Jacob, I hope maybe someday you might want to get to know me and your cousins. Not as people trying to take you away, but just as extended family who care about you. No pressure, no expectations. Just an open door if you ever want to walk through it." Jacob looks up at Thomas and Rosa, silently asking permission. Thomas nods. "It's your choice, buddy. Whatever you want." Jacob takes a tentative step toward Patricia. "Maybe we could write letters sometimes. And maybe meet up once a year or something? I'd like to know stories about my dad when he was little." Patricia's face lights up with grateful joy. "I would love that so much. And Jacob, I want you to know, your dad would be so proud of the boy you've become. He'd be grateful to Thomas and Rosa for loving you the way they have." When Judge Martinez calls everyone back into the courtroom, Patricia's lawyer stands and announces the withdrawal of the custody petition. The judge looks surprised but pleased. "Miss Coleman, I want to commend you for putting this child's needs ahead of your own desires. That takes tremendous courage and love." She turns to address the entire courtroom. "I've been a family court judge for 27 years, and I've seen every kind of custody battle imaginable." Judge Martinez looks directly at Jacob. "Young man, you impressed me with your testimony today. You were honest and brave, and you helped me understand that family is built through love and commitment, not just biology. The adoption of Jacob Anderson by Thomas Anderson is hereby affirmed and will remain in effect. Furthermore, I'm ordering that Rosa Martinez be granted legal guardianship status alongside Mr. Anderson, recognizing her crucial role in this child's life and well-being." Rosa gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. Legal guardianship. She's officially part of Jacob's family now, recognized by law as his guardian. Thomas is gripping her other hand so hard it hurts, but neither of them cares. Jacob lets out a whoop of joy that makes everyone in the courtroom laugh through their tears. The courtroom erupts in applause. Margaret is hugging her assistants. Dr. Kim is wiping his eyes. 6 months after the custody hearing, the Martinez-Anderson Foundation holds its first national conference. Over 2,000 attendees, including foster parents, social workers, therapists, former foster youth, and policymakers, gather to learn about trauma-informed care and peer mentorship. Rosa gives the keynote speech, and her opening words set the tone for everything that follows. 3 years ago, I was a cleaning lady working multiple jobs just to survive. I had no credentials, no fancy degrees, no reason to believe I could make a difference in anyone's life. The foundation has grown beyond anyone's expectations. They now operate in 32 states with over 300 trained peer mentors and partnerships, with 200 child welfare agencies. The outcomes continue to be remarkable. Children in their program show faster improvement, require less medication, have fewer placement disruptions, and report higher levels of emotional well-being than children receiving traditional services alone. Universities are studying their model. Government agencies are requesting consultations, and most importantly, children are healing. Jacob is now 13 years old, an 8th grader who excels in everything he touches. He's captain of his soccer team, president of student council, and maintains a 4.0 grade average. But more importantly, he's happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in ways that seemed impossible during those dark early days. He still works with the foundation, mentoring younger kids who struggle with trauma and nightmares. I want to be for them what Rosa was for me, he tells anyone who asks. Thomas has transformed too. The driven businessman who once measured success in dollars and deals now measures it in lives changed and families healed. He still runs his real estate company, but it's no longer his passion. The foundation is his passion. Jacob is his passion. Creating a world where no child has to suffer alone, that's what drives him now. He's remarried to a wonderful woman named Jennifer, who embraces both Jacob and Rosa as family. They have a daughter together now, 2-year-old Emma. Rosa stands on the stage at the national conference, looking out at the sea of faces, and she thinks about how far she's come. From the scared foster kid bouncing through placements, to the exhausted cleaning lady working 3 jobs, to the co-founder and director of a national foundation that's changing lives every single day. People ask me all the time what my secret is. Rosa tells the audience, how did I help Jacob when all the experts couldn't? And the truth is, there's no secret. I saw a child in pain, and instead of looking away, instead of deciding it wasn't my problem or I wasn't qualified to help, I stayed. I sat with his fear. I let him know he wasn't alone. That's all any of us can do for each other. Stay. Show up. Be present. Let people know their pain is seen and their struggle matters. The audience erupts in applause, but Rosa raises her hand for quiet. She has one more thing to say. The conference ends with a standing ovation that lasts 5 minutes. But the real impact happens in the weeks and months that follow. Hundreds of new volunteers sign up to be trained as peer mentors. Dozens of new partnerships are formed with schools and agencies. The foundation receives its largest donation ever, $20 million from Patricia Coleman, who wants to honor the family that saved her nephew by helping save other children. The movement continues to grow, spreading across the country and eventually internationally. 5 years after that first terrible night when Rosa held Jacob's hand through his nightmares, the 3 of them sit together in the backyard of the Anderson estate. Jacob is 18 now, about to leave for college where he'll study psychology and continue working with traumatized children. Rosa is 42, about to publish her memoir about growing up in foster care and finding her purpose through helping Jacob heal. Thomas is 52, recently named Philanthropist of the Year by a major nonprofit organization, though he insists Rosa deserves the recognition more than he does. Do you remember that first night? Jacob asks Rosa. When you came into my room during one of my episodes and you just knew what to do? Rosa smiles. I remember being terrified I'd make everything worse. I remember feeling completely unqualified and wondering what on earth I was thinking. Thomas laughs. I remember thinking it was the craziest idea I'd ever agreed to, letting the new housekeeper treat my son's severe trauma. The experts would have locked me up. Jacob gets serious for a moment. But it worked because you weren't trying to fix me or cure me or make me into something I wasn't. You just let me know I wasn't alone in being broken. And that made all the difference. Rosa reaches over and takes Jacob's hand, the same way she did that first night 5 years ago. You were never broken, sweetheart. You were wounded, and wounds can heal when they're tended with love and understanding. Jacob squeezes her hand. I'm going to spend my life helping other wounded kids heal, Rosa. Just like you helped me. This is my calling now. Everything I went through, all that pain and fear and trauma, it's going to help me understand and reach kids that nobody else can reach. Just like your pain helped you reach me. Rosa feels tears streaming down her face, but they're good tears. Proud tears. Grateful tears for the chance to take her own suffering and transform it into something that helps others. Thomas raises his glass of lemonade. A toast. To broken things that become beautiful. To families built by choice rather than chance. To the courage to stay when everyone else walks away. And to Rosa Martinez, the cleaning lady who changed everything. They clink their glasses together, and in that moment they're not a millionaire, a former foster kid turned foundation director, and a traumatized orphan turned healer. They're just a family, an unconventional, imperfect, absolutely beautiful family that proves love is stronger than trauma. Jacob's story reminds us that healing doesn't always come from where we expect it. Sometimes the answer isn't in expensive treatments or fancy degrees. Sometimes it's in the simple act of one human being seeing another's pain and choosing to care. Rosa could have walked past Jacob's suffering. She could have decided it wasn't her problem, that she wasn't qualified, that she was just the cleaning lady. But she didn't. She stayed. She showed up. And that changed everything. If this story touched your heart, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, drop a comment telling me about a time when someone showed up for you when you needed it most. Or when you showed up for someone else. Those stories matter. They remind us we're all connected by our struggles and our capacity to help each other heal. Second, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it's someone who's struggling. Maybe it's just someone who needs to be reminded that broken things can become beautiful. And third, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because we're building a community here of people who believe in the power of compassion, understanding, and refusing to give up on each other. Your support helps us create more stories like this, stories that inspire and challenge and remind us of what really matters in this world. Remember, you don't need a foundation or millions of dollars to make a difference. You just need to see someone who's hurting and choose not to look away. Be someone's Rosa today.